Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video we're going to give you a full rundown of what I've been doing to the Corrado, and that's what this week's video is about. There's no kind of DIY build, it's just literally what I've been doing to the Corrado, which is an awful lot. So without any more talking, let's get into the intro. So where to start? Well, I think we'd start at the front of the car and work our way to the back of the car because there's an awful lot after happening. So I think when I first left this car, there was no front bumper, and I think that was probably on one of the last videos. There's no front bumper, so we installed the front bumper. So there's these little wedges that fit in behind of this. There's 10 of them. I lost them. I don't know where I put them. And someone very nicely on Facebook Marketplace sold me 9 of them. And he said, I just can't find the 10th one. Turned out one of my clips was broken, so I only need 9 anyway. So that's now the front bumper properly attached, so it's not going to come off. We have the splitter now on. I'm missing the very bottom grille, so if you have that, please give me a shout. 2 fog lights are in, and someone's fitted daytime running lights to the car. Not really sure why, but they thought it was going to be a cool little mod. But they put it in there, I think. Or did they put it there? They put it there, yeah. There's a nice, lovely hole there. So because they installed the light there and installed the light this side, they actually pulled off the cover and it never sat back on properly. So I've after using Tiger Seal. Tiger Seal, probably the wrong stuff to use, but it's stuck on and it's not going to come off again. Because that was my fear, that you'd be driving on the road and just fall off. So that's permanently on. Again, in here there's a little clip that sets the fog light from falling out. Mine was broken, had to make one from scratch, so I just made it in a piece of metal. Wasn't really worth a video, so didn't get made. Again, this really wasn't worth a video, so I didn't make a video on it. The far light, yeah, there's literally a problem with everything on this car. I can't find an early indicator, so this one here was obviously broken, so I got a piece of Perspex, glued it in. It's now in the car, and it's weather tight, so I really don't care about maybe getting a replacement one, unless the car ends up as a show car or something like that. It'll do for the moment. Yeah, missing the bottom grille, the one that goes from here all the way across to here. Had the front grille, that's this one here, that goes in there. Mine was cracked here at the sides. They all crack at the sides. I think it has good clips, but it's all going in. You can see here I'm missing one of these, and I have one. So what my plan is to get a grommet, work out the radius of that one, buy an ordinary grommet, which is like a circle that has a kind of a lip on either side. Put in some boiling water, try to squeeze it and put it in there. And then when it cools, it'll hopefully cool in that shape, and then it'll accept these little lugs there that fit into the front of the grille. Headlights, still working on the headlights. They're going to be the Impro headlights, so they're going into that, or else I get the standard ones. Haven't made up my mind. If you've ever fitted an engine and you've taken the front off the car, you will realize there is a million bolts holding this on. So there's 2 here, 2 at the far side, 1 here in the middle. When you have the bumper off, you're meant to be able to go in this way and put a nut there and a nut there, or a bolt. They're little like screws actually. They go in this way. There's 1 there. There's 2 in the bottom of the radiator support, so it's 2 down here somewhere. I think that's them all. There might be more, but because I'd said, right, I might be taking this radiator in and out, or taking the engine in and out, or doing stuff to it, it's easier if I make it kind of a little bit more quick release, or maybe a little bit easier just to work on the car. So I didn't bother putting the 2 in the bottom on. I don't think they're important. The 2 at the sides, they have to come in this way, which is really bizarre. So you're not meant to put the bumper on yet. So I think I might just put a little tack weld, or else figure out how to kind of pull them together. It's actually 3 skins. So there's the center skin, which is the center with the original chassis, this outside skin, and this one here, and all 3 of them are bolted together just in there, which just basically stops this from making noise when you're driving. I don't know why, but anyway. So what I've done in mine is I was trying to figure out where to best put a nut and bolt actually. So there's actually a hole right here behind this, so I put a nut in there and then welded the nut physically onto this piece here. So it's only another, I think it's number 17. You can do that on these 2 up here. I think there's 1 just here on the other side of that. And that should actually make everything come out in and out. It'll just make everything much easier to work on the car if I ever have to change the radiator or do other stuff to it. And otherwise you're literally stuck with trying to drop the subframe, drop this, go in there, retrieve those two, get the one here, get the two at the bottom. And it's an awful lot of work for just something that should be quite simple to do. So that was my little hack. Just putting a nut and bolt in there, and the nut is actually welded onto this, so it's not going to fall off. And that is absolutely rigid. Radiator out of a Skoda Fabia. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's just the radiator itself. So how do I mount it? I wanted twin fans just because it's a VR6 and might be going air conditioning. Haven't really made up my mind. So the plan is for this to have two fans, or the dual fans, so you can see them there. Well, maybe you're not going to be able to see them, but anyway, there are two fans behind that. One is driven by a motor, the other is driven by a belt from the first fan. The big problem was, how do I mount it all? So, first of all, to find the damn dual fan radiator, I just couldn't find one where I live. So I actually had a Mark IV, I think. Is it a Mark IV or Mark V? I'm not really sure what it came off. I think it was like a Golf. But it was a whole radiator surround, had the fans on it, and had these two wings either side for the headlights. So chopped all the headlights off. It's a full piece of plastic, and basically chopped it all up enough to just hold the surround of the radiator. That was my fans sorted, done. Because this piece now will come up and down, there's a little lip there just to hold the top of the radiator, because that's always a problem. I didn't want the radiator banging into the dipstick just there. So that's now the front of the car, pretty much what I've done to it. Looking at, that's the bottom strut brace that will be going onto the car. I will make a video on installing that. That should be a fun little thing just to install. I've had it for the last 12 years. So yeah, one of my best friends gave it to me, so I'm going to install that. So next thing is the air conditioning radiator. So this is out of a B5 Passat. The outlets are up here, which would mean that there'd actually be, when you put that in like that, you can see it's quite tall. It's going to be way too high. And it's going to sit super proud up here, and even if you spin it around, whichever way you do it, it's always going to be wrong. So it'll either be really high up here or really high up there. So my plan is probably to find someone that does brazing, maybe. Cut that there, or cut it, this piece here out. Cut it here, drop this down to here, and use all of this, because I'm using a B5 Passat. It's basically a Mark IV Golf air conditioning, so I want to use everything. Obviously the pump will be from a Mark II, because it doesn't fit on, the later one doesn't fit onto the VR6, this is not that I know of. Unless you know of a better air conditioning radiator to use, you could use the one from an actual Corrado, but they're a lot smaller, and I don't know whether they work as well, because a lot of people just say the air conditioning in Mark II Golf, Mark III Golf all suck. So this is a Mark IV. Might work that. I might find something completely different, I don't know, but the plan is hopefully to go air conditioning with this car. Next is the air intake. Yeah, it dribbles all over the place. So these bolts here don't really do anything, so my plan is to make up a little bracket here, maybe come across here and just grab this, hold this on here, or maybe bring a bracket up from the bottom, or maybe even just find a better intake and just a longer one, or even get the original one and kind of modify it to make it fit, because I don't think it's really going to fit, because it's out of a it's a Mark III VR6, so it's out of a Vento, I think, or a Mark III Jetta. So I'll have to do something to get the box, because I don't have an original box. So this little cover here is off a B4 Passat, I think a 95 or 96 reg Passat, and it's just a little cover just for the wipers. So it's happened once before. Bonnet was wet, I opened the bonnet, all the water went down, did a few times. I basically killed the motor, so this is going to be a little cover on it. And yes, I have gone to right-hand drive for the wipers, so technically the holes should have been, where are they gone? They're hit there and there, and I've just pulled them across. So now I'm using a right-hand drive wiper setup, so the wipers will actually wipe across the window the correct way. Also welded up the holes just underneath here. Sorry, there's shit everywhere. But there's the hole in there for the HVAC. I've welded that up. because obviously this is a left-hand drive car, now it's becoming a right-hand drive car. So the air intake, I've drilled a hole over there for the air intake to go in. So that's all done. Here I've mounted the ECU, so I made up a little bracket, you can probably see it just there. So it's stepped to allow water, when it flows in here, to flow underneath it and come out at the drain holes here on the far side. But if I ever take out the ECU, and because it is a project car, I'm sure there's going to be some problem, or there's a mobilizer or whatever, it's going, we need to be fixed on it, or you need to take it in and out, whatever. I can actually undo this bolt, remove the bolt entirely. So there's actually a nut underneath it as well. You can see the nut there, and there's a nut welded underneath this bracket just here. And I can take this whole entire bolt out, which gives me loads of room to pull the whole ECU out this way. Because if you ever taken an ECU out of a Corrado, there's no room. I don't even know how you can get it in and out successfully. Like, how did it in the factory? There must be someone there with like octopus fingers or something to get it in. So I just figured if I make this bolt retractable, or take this bolt out, it's so much more room, and I can just pull the whole ECU out in probably like 2 minutes. That's pretty much everything engine-wise done so far up to this point of the car. Unfortunately, there is a crack in the windscreen just over there. You can see just a hairline crack there. So that windscreen will have to come out. Not really sure where I'm going to find a new windscreen, but I'm going to ask the windscreen crowd that live very close to me, that change the windscreens every day, will they have a Corrado windscreen, and can they get one for me? Right, moving on to inside. Door handles. Door handles were up in a video. I showed how to correctly install Corrado door handles. I can't remember if these are Series 1 or Series 2 Corrado door handles, but I think they're Series 1 because there's a little lip just here. I think this next series would have a flat lip there. But anyway, they're installed and they work. So after doing the door handles, of course, I have all the controls now for this side, because it was a left-hand drive car, so I mean the driver on the far side would have been able to put up and down the electric windows from that side and from this one. So now it's changed around, so now I have the controls from this side, and they can control this one and this one now from this side. So yeah, a bit confusing, but anyway, yeah, it's left-hand drive turned to right-hand drive, and there is so much shit you have to change, but it is doable, but it just takes a long time to figure it all out. So obviously the fuse box then would have been over there, it's now over here. So we have a like that. No one wants to see your ass. Okay, lock it down here. That's the fuse box all mounted up, hopefully in the correct spot. There is trim still to go back in, but hopefully that is now in the right place, and it's in far enough across that everything should actually line up. There will be a video coming out how to set up the bonnet release. So this bonnet release, it used to be on the far side, means that the angles that it sits at used to be going the opposite way around. So now I've actually had to heat it with the gas and put it in the vise and do a little bit of welding. But I have modified it from left-hand drive to right-hand drive, so that's now in the correct place. Obviously this trim is not in the correct place. But yeah, it will actually all fit in nice and neat. It just has to be adjusted a little bit. Right. Also, I went with the Series 2 Corrado face for the HVAC, because I think they're much nicer. Obviously Series 1 for the lights, because the second series is impossible to get. By Series 1 and Series 2, I mean, when the Corrado first came out in 1988, 1989, it had all these kind of controls and had very square vents. And then I think in 92 or halfway through 92 into 93, it got this much more modern looking vents, and they look much nicer. They got a nicer lighting switch, but that lighting switch always breaks. So that's why we have the later one, or the early one. I would like the later one, but I can't get it. Again, we have the later or the early controls, but we have our DDI gauges. So I love these gauges, and they're in kilometers, so that's exactly what I want. And it says DDI because I have the original ones and not the counterfeit ones. I'm going to call them counterfeit anyway. So we have a nice steering wheel that's going in. It's a nice leather steering wheel. Still has to be wired up, or finished being wired up, but that's only just a few wires and bolted down. But at the moment I'm not bolting it down because I can just take out the steering wheel when I'm working here. It's just one less thing in the way, and there is trim to go around this. So hopefully that's all that done. Moving now into center. So here we are in the center of the car. We have all our gauges hopefully lined up here. I'm thinking about putting in heated seats. So this is a gauge, I think from a Mark II. or else maybe it is from a Corrado, I can't remember which. I think it's from Mark II because the seat is actually sideways. But I do have the correct Series 2 Corrado heated seats. They're just two little dials. Whether I keep them or not really sure. Don't know what I'll put there. Yeah, so radio, yeah, it's pink radio. It's what it was on the shelf. It's in the car, it works, so that's leaving that like that. This is my DigiDash, or sorry, the digital HVAC controller out of a B5 Passat, and it's all wired in to the Corrado, so when I press any of the buttons, all the controllers behind the dash here work. The recirculation one doesn't work because I used a B4 Passat air intake, just the one that goes here, and obviously the little motor is going to be missing because it's not the B5. The reason why I didn't put it in is because you need the air conditioning receiver or the air conditioning secondary radiator, and yeah, I'm not really sure whether I'm going with the air conditioning or not. I just wanted the controls to work, so that's in. This piece here, I can actually pull it out. It's fiberglass. I just made it up, and it'll be glued in there permanently. The reason why I made it in fiberglass is because I could not find one anywhere. I did look, there was none available, so I just made up one. I wasn't doing anything on a Sunday and just decided, right, I'll just make a negative. I got my own one out of the other car, made a negative mold, and then pulled a positive mold off it. So that's now in. I do have relay 43, because if I do the digital dash from the Opel or the Monza or Cadet, I need relay 43 to make it work, just to tell you that you're low on coolant. Moving across, I have all the dash hopefully back in, permanently in, and slowly doing stuff. Yeah, there's shit everywhere, but I am working on it. So this gator here on my one originally was all ripped, and I didn't know what to do, and I was just in the garage one evening, and I was just looking on, I wonder where have I seen one of these before. I thought about it, it's like, I have one on the B5 Passat, so that's why it looks like a B5 Passat controller, and obviously we had a B5 for braking here, so that's why I robbed a load of shit off it. So yeah, took this gator off, and obviously the handle, or the gear knob to go with it. Looks a little bit worn, but it actually is a very nice gear handle, and once that is rejuvenated with a bit of polish, whatever, it'll actually work perfectly. And yeah, the gator, I had to modify it a little bit just to shorten it, because it is actually quite a little bit longer. Just shorten it just with the scissors, screw it all together, and it actually works so well, and it's actually probably a little bit better leather. The cover for here I'm still missing, so I have a black one, and I think this is grey, so it's the only one I'm missing, and it's just a little odd to have a black centerpiece when you have everything else is grey. It just worked out that everything was grey, but I'll find one eventually. Or else I can just use the black one. So for the eagle-eyed viewer, you can see the seat. The seat is currently upside down because I am doing a little bit of welding on it. The seat that I'm using is a Audi TT first generation, and I've cut the rails off, and I'm putting Mark II rails onto it, so it'll actually slide into the Corrado. So if you want to see that video coming out, keep watching, because I have the other seat there in taken apart, and there will be the Mark II rails will all be welded on up here. We'll be having Audi TT seats in this car on Mark II rails or Corrado rails. Rear seats, I have a black leather bench, so that's going in there. Okay, and behind the cover we have the fuel pump. So this is a really early car, so I have the bonnet with the dip down and then dip up. So this is like an 8 valve or a 16 valve, and it's a 1989 registered car. So it's a really early car, and it has the two fuel pumps. So how do you make a VR6 run with two fuel pumps? Because this is a lift pump, and underneath the rear axle, is the high pressure pump with an accumulator. So the way to make a VR6 run, because a VR6 only wants 3 bar, where the 16 valves want something like 8 or 9 bar, you get rid of the accumulator. So when you get rid of the accumulator, you can actually drop the pressure and you can run a 3 bar. Okay, here we are at the front. Yes, there is a pressure regulator valve just here on the front of the engine, and you can actually run 9 bar, and that pressure regulator will actually drop the pressure to 3 bar, because it'll only let in 3 bar and send the other 6 bar somewhere else. I don't know if it sends it back or it just holds it there, but I thought about it, I'm probably sending 6 bar or 9 bar all the way up here for the pressure regulator bar to just go, what's going on? I'm limiting you to 3 bar and that's all you're getting. And I don't know what to do with the other remaining 6 bar. I thought, better not to overdo that poor little regulator. Maybe better off thing to just only have 3 bar coming up, and then for spikes or whatever happening, it can regulate it down. This is Prim, by the way. This is our latest cat. And she's a grumpy kind of cat, so she likes being rubbed. Here. But she likes talking back, and she doesn't like you going beyond her neck. She only likes her tail being rubbed. So, strange cat. Anyway. Yes, they are rear brakes. So I have the rear brakes, discs, bearings, everything to go on here, coming out in a future video. Looking at this, obviously my spoilers and everything is pretty much gutted and hanging down. It turned out the motor was burnt out, the switches were burnt out, the spoiler itself had a big giant crack in it, and the boot lid is full of rust. So it doesn't look too bad here, but over this side, everywhere you look, it has rust in it, and more rust and more rust, and there's so much filler in this. It was just packed with filler on top of filler. So yeah, that boot lid, not really sure what to do. I think one of the lads that I know kind of close to me has a boot lid for spares, so he wants the glass, so I might swap him this one for the other one or whatever happens. But I think his boot lid is far better. Oh yeah, last thing, the exhaust now is fitted. So I have the exhaust fitted into the car, so it's a high flow cat from right there, and then there's a high flow cat all the way back to here. How do I hang it? Because hanging exhaust is always a pain in the arse to do. So just behind that box there, you see a nut. Maybe we can zoom in. See a nut just there, or a bolt, and I think there is a corresponding to there. Yeah. So I have the hangers that actually hang the exhaust system on a nut and bolt, with the idea is if I run a nut and bolt down here, it'll keep them taut and keep them in the right position, and then get a second nut and you can run it up and down, and you can actually then set the heights of the exhaust system. And it was the fastest and easiest exhaust system I've ever fitted, because if you're slightly wrong, you can tighten the nut from underneath and the exhaust will actually come up or down a few mil, and that is absolutely perfect. So that's what I'm doing for the exhaust. You can see one there, and I actually have a second exhaust. So like the TT that has twin exhaust tips, I really want to have twin exhaust tips. So what I will be doing is not just mounting this, but my plan is to weld the pipe here at 90 degrees, join it onto the far tip at the other side, so they will actually be plumbed together, and I will have twin exhaust pipes in the back of this car. So guys, that's a full rundown on my Corrado, and all the jobs I've either done to it or still to do to it. So there is a lot happening in the background and a lot happening behind the scenes. I can't record everything because I found if you record everything, the project just grinds to a halt. So what I'm doing is only recording the really important jobs, like maybe the exhaust system and the fuel system and all the other jobs like that. But for the moment, whatever's happening, I'm just doing it in the background and getting the car up and running.